In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. This gospel that we prayed from St. Luke is the most expansive about the narrative. If you look in Matthew or Mark, it's just a few lines. But here you have 11 verses, and these verses contain a narrative that give us a much fuller view of what the Lord was doing. Again, I've said many times that what kind of voice did Jesus have? He didn't have a wimpy little voice that depended upon a microphone, because there were no microphones. So if he got out into the shoreline in a boat and he was talking to a multitude of people, what kind of voice did he have? He wasn't, "I love you all. Everything is so good. Just follow me." It couldn't have been that way, because no one could have heard. So he had to have a clarion call. C-L-A-R-I-O-N, a clarion call. James and John were called the sons of thunder because their voices were booming. And so it is if someone is going to preach in a day without amplification, that they had to have a strong diaphragm, and they had to get out the message in a very clear way. So Jesus put out a little bit from the shore, and he began to speak. Some people postulate that the reason that he did this is he didn't want anybody who was an enemy to be behind him, so he didn't have to turn his back on an enemy. Some people have postulated the sea, as is mentioned in Revelations, like the sea of glass before the throne of the Lord, is a sea that resembles the heavens, or infinity, and therefore the Lord sitting upon the sea is sitting upon the infinite throne, and you will see him in your mind's eye as who he really is. But whether or not these things have any particular meaning for you, it's important that you think about what the men, the humans, were doing at this time. Because when someone fishes, there's all kinds of decaying material that catches on to the net, whether or not you've caught a fish or not. There's just the stuff from the sea that animals feed on. And if you do not wash it, it decays and the net begins to rot. So it's a lot of work to pull up the nets, to wash them, fold them again, and make them ready for the next time they're going to be let out for a draft. The Lord simply asked Simon Peter, in a moment of great irony, "Let out your net." Because what Jesus was doing at this very time was casting his own net. He was going to do something that nobody could gainsay. He was doing something that these men were going to understand more clearly than any type of eloquence had ever done for them. And there are some speakers that are very persuasive. Very, very persuasive. What was it that the Roman judge said when St. Paul gave an account of his faith? He said, "You've almost persuaded me." In other words, the idea of persuasion is one thing, and when you are in the hand of someone who really knows how to gather you into the heart of a story, he can make you cry, or your spirit can soar. You can feel the kind of honor that attaches itself to human beings who have done great things. I mean, he can take you anywhere. He can make you laugh. So they'd heard great speakers. But the Lord was going to do something that nobody else had ever done. "Simon, let out your nets for a draft." "Well, Master, we've worked all night. We've caught nothing. But you seem to know what you're talking about. I've just listened to you. I'll try it." Then they let out their nets for a draft, and they started to pull in. And as they started to pull in, the weight of the pull caused the ship to begin to take on water. The waves would wash over the side. And so they called, we can't haul this in. We don't want to lose it. It's a great bounty. So they called their brethren in. They brought another boat. They pulled from the other side. Both of the ships began to take on water. So then what? Peter said, "Depart from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man." Because what he had seen was greater than anything he had ever heard. There was no accounting for this. He was a fisherman. He lived by that lake. He knew that lake. What he saw then was impossible. And what did he see? He saw somebody that was not just sovereign with a vocabulary, but he was sovereign over nature. He was sovereign over nature. Remember when the Jews came to Jesus and they asked Peter, they said, "Does your master pay the temple tax?" And Peter scratched his head. I don't know. I'll go ask. And Jesus said to Peter, "Well, who pays temple tax? The sons or the other people?" Well, the other people pay temple tax. I mean, fathers do not ask their sons to pay a tax. See, we really aren't a part of them, are we, Peter? They don't feel that we are a part, and we really aren't a part. We are different. But I'll tell you what, go and throw a line in the water. You're going to pull up a fish, and inside the fish are going to be 2 golden coins. One for you, one for me. Sovereign. Jesus Christ is sovereign over nature. He's not sovereign over just the minds of men. Plenty of people have done that. Think about how many people have gone to war because of the preaching of one man. In the Western world, we laud Winston Churchill because of the way that he spoke during the times of the great stress upon the British Empire because of the bombing of the Germans, the Blitzkrieg. And we talk about how he rallied the people. Never before have so many owed so much to so few. Speaking about the Royal Air Force. Things that should be on the tip of everyone's tongue who knows history. Winston Churchill, a great rallier of men's minds. Many people have come and gone, But who may speak a word to nature herself? Who may speak a word to the earth and have the earth respond? So, Simon Peter, he didn't know much, but what he knew. And therein lies the difference between many people. Because if you start to question some people, their so-called principles, their ethics, their morals will begin to decay by the onslaught of mere words. You don't have to touch them. Just because of their inability to defend intellectually, they will begin to decay right in front of you and fall to nothing. But the Lord said to him, "Yes, you're a sinful man, Peter, but do not be afraid. You're going to be a partaker in this work that I've undertaken. You are going to be a co-contributor to the salvation of man, because from now on you will not catch fish, you will catch men." And so it has been, since the beginning, that the Lord has chosen with his net, in the draft that he ordained, to choose preachers and priests, and to choose people who were expositors in Sunday school of holy theology and of the Bible itself. And since the very beginning, these have been entrusted with the great draft of fish. We who, in the anagram ichthus, belong. Glory be to our God, both now and ever, and to the age of all ages. Amen.